This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 7, the movie review of Terminator Genisys. I'm Graham Ricks, and here with me is my friend and co-pilot Ian Jones.
Yeah, hey buddy, why do they insist on misspelling Genisys in the name of this movie?
When I was doing all my writing for this, I kept having to fix it to the incorrect spelling, which annoys the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Before we get into Terminator Genisys review, our trailer for this week is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. Now, for this movie, I actually think this looks really good, and I really want to see it. And I think it's a great continuation of this franchise that had quite a dip earlier on, but it's got this resurgence, and I think this one looks pretty good.
Yeah, they mentioned the Rogue Nation, right, at the end of the last movie, or the Syndicate at the end of the last movie.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
And it seems like in every single Mission Impossible movie, they're always like on the outs with the organization. Like Ethan Hunt is always an outsider. So
yeah,
they're always like trying to shut him down or stop him, or they think he's the mole.
Yeah, I really do like this new one because of this exciting new IMF?
Anti-IMF.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a real interesting movie. I think it'll be lots of fun, lots of action, and really good.
I thought it was interesting because the girl in this, I don't recognize the actress who's in this movie, but I was like, oh, they got someone closer to Tom Cruise's age, which I thought was interesting. but I looked her age up, and she was born in 83.
Oh, okay. I really liked the first Mission Impossible. The second one was okay. I really didn't like the third one. The fourth one with Ghost Protocol just really came me roaring back to the series, and so I'm really excited about this one. I think the problem is in the second and third one, it seemed like they kind of got away from the espionage aspect to it, and they kind of went full action. And I like seeing that in this new movie also. This one looks like there's going to be some espionage in there, which is a part of Mission Impossible. So I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think that this movie seems like it's on par with the last one, and Ghost Protocol was so cool that I'm looking forward to seeing this. Plus, it looks like they really did some insane stunts with this, and it isn't just all CGI.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fun ride. I can't wait. Now that we're done with this trailer, Jones, let's go ahead and get into the movie review. Kyle Reese goes back in time to protect Sarah Connor, but the 1984 he comes back to is not what he expects. This movie is directed by Alan Taylor.
He directed Thor, The Dark World, and I think that's the only thing I've seen of his.
Yeah. This movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Guardian, who was also in the Conan movies, Kindergarten Cop, and Batman and Robin.
Oh, great. Batman and Robin.
The best Batman movie ever made.
Oh. You're going to get a dead horse in your bed for saying that.
Oh, it's awful. It's actually unwatchable.
Yeah, should never have been made, I think.
Jason Clarke is John Connor, who's also in Public Enemies, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, and The Great Gatsby.
He was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
And that's a terrific one.
Yeah, it is. Definitely was one of the best ones of that summer. It was actually kind of a sleeper. I wasn't expecting much out of it, and it ended up being really good.
He also never blinks. So he's Creepy.
Emilia Clarke is Sarah Connor. She's probably most known as Daenerys in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, she's the mother of dragons.
Yep.
And was unrecognizable, I think, in this movie trailer.
Yeah, you see her as Daenerys so much that it's a surprise when she doesn't have the ridiculous, like, white hair.
Right, the ridiculous wig. Which is so obviously a wig, but that's what you think she looks like.
Yep. Jai Courtney is Kyle Reese, who was also in Jack Reacher, A Good Day to Die Hard, and I, Frankenstein.
You know, this guy's quickly becoming one of the new action stars, and I think it's fun to see him in something where he is in a movie with Arnold, who's the old guard, old but not obsolete.
Yep. J.K. Simmons as O'Brien. He was in The Jackal, Spider-Man, and The Lady Killers. He's
the yellow M&M.
Yes.
And I can't see anyone else playing J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he's
Spidey.
He's perfect for that role. And in Terminator Genisys, I actually, even though he's not in this movie that much, I really like this character O'Brien. He's just amusing.
Oh yeah.
He's just got a charm to him that the rest of the movie doesn't seem to have. Next up we have Deo Akinyi, I'm assuming is how you pronounce that, as Danny Dyson. He was also in The Hunger Games and the TV series Revolution. Matt Smith is Alex, who probably most known for Doctor Who. He was one of the doctors for several seasons.
Yeah, he played the Doctor, and his eyes are too close together, but...
Well, his face is just kind of weird anyway. He's got a strange looking face. It's very unique.
He only has to wear one goggle when he goes swimming in his pool.
Family Guy references. Courtney B. Vance is Miles Dyson, who's also been in Law & Order, a ton of TV movies, and Final Destination 5.
Oh, good.
5.
Yeah.
Final Destination.
We need 5 of those. We
5.
need one more, too. Why not do 5 more and make it like a 10? So they could do Final Destination X.
You know, I really enjoyed the first movie, and then I like how they kind of continued it in the second one, but then after that, I don't even know what they're doing anymore. I don't even know what they're doing. Next up, we have Byung-Hun Lee as the cop, or the T-1000. He's from The Good, the Bad, the Weird, G.I. Joe movies, and Red 2.
The awesome G.I. Joe movies.
Yes.
Where he played Storm Shadow.
Yeah, which we actually watched a little bit of last night, oddly enough.
Yeah, a little bit, because it's really unwatchable.
I still haven't made it through that movie, man.
They made a movie so bad that not even The Rock could save it.
Oh, man. Michael Gladys as Lieutenant Matthias. He's also in Mad Men. That's what he's probably best known for.
Matthias
or Matthias?
I think it's Matthias.
Well, here we go again. I'm just going to let that ride.
All right.
Now that we're done with these characters, Jones, let's get into our quirks and likes.
All right.
Alright, now we're in our quirks and likes section. Let's go ahead and start with my quirks. One of the first quirks I have here is I don't quite understand the personification of Skynet via Matt Smith. It seems a little strange that he has this sense of him. There's a form of Skynet that they keep seeing throughout the scenes as he gets older and older, and ends up just being Matt Smith, who's also one of the advanced Terminators in the future timeline, but I don't quite understand the major connection between it.
And why would it bother looking like a human?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand that at all. The other huge quirk I have in this movie is people surviving damage is significant.
Oh, yes. And I think I know where you're gonna go
in this movie. Well, one of them is is how did they survive that bus crash?
The bus crash, yep.
It flips up in the air, which is just ridiculous anyway.
Yeah.
But it rolls down. It rolls multiple times and then lands and then is torn apart and is hanging from the bridge. And there's like barely even a scratch on either one of them.
There's not a bruise on anyone, and they're fine.
And they're perfectly fine. Like, what just happened? That doesn't make any sense.
Flips end over end, rolls 4 times. Even if you had a seatbelt, you'd be very dead. And Kyle Reese was not wearing a seatbelt.
No, he was not. Speaking of Kyle Reese, when they go back in time, or I guess this time they go forward in time to 2017, he protects Sarah Connor by getting hit by a car on the highway.
Yeah.
How the hell was he just okay with getting hit by a car?
Going 60 on a highway?
Going 60 on a highway. I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, man, I guess in the future humans are made a little more strong.
He can take a hit. I can take a hit from a car.
That's amazing.
Maybe there's like a serum they inject him with and it makes him invulnerable to cars, to automobiles, and...
It's just so crazy. The other thing is even the T-800, where Schwarzenegger says, I'll be back, and he flies down and hits this helicopter head on, and it basically explodes. It goes down and hits and it explodes. When he comes back to help them out, all that's on him is his human tissue that he has on him. There's just an extra little piece on his cheek taken out. Everything else is okay. How is that possible?
Yeah,
he basically blew up a helicopter in flames.
Head first into propellers.
Yeah. Yet his face was perfectly fine.
It does seem like maybe the original T-800 is a little bit tougher these days.
Yeah. It does seem that way. The other quirk I had in this movie was I thought the dialogue could use some better dialogue. It just seemed like the screenwriter just got real lazy on some of this dialogue, and I just find myself cringing on some scenes on what they would say, and I'm just sometimes it just gets to me with the dialogue. I also thought it was strange that the Terminator, the T-800, is actually kind of a comic relief in this movie, which in the other movie, he definitely had scenes like that because he's trying to get used to being more human or acting like more of a human. And so you have those scenes in there, but this one is just littered with them. There's just a lot in there, and I think it's just a little too much for me. I kind of don't want my Terminator movie to turn into a lighthearted comedy. And that's just...
Well, I have to disagree with you there.
I don't like it.
Because I think it's gold. I think it matches what they were trying to do.
I think this movie needs to decide whether it's serious or not. And it seems like you get a little too much of both. So I'm just kind of confused on what they're trying to convey. Like if they were trying to make the movie not take itself too seriously, I feel like there's a lot of scenes that shouldn't have been in there. But they had a lot of scenes that definitely seemed like it wasn't taking itself seriously. And I don't think they struck the correct balance on that. I was just bothered by it the whole time. And that's actually all the quirks I got, so what do you got?
One of the first things is really about Sarah Connor, and I think this kind of touches on some of the dialogue things that maybe you had some issues with. But, you know, when I think of Sarah Connor, I think of Linda Hamilton in Terminator 2, and I struggled to think of how that character was in the first Terminator movie, but I always think of T2. And she has such a strong entrance where she drives, you know, that security truck, that bank truck into the store and shoots that Terminator. But really, throughout the movie, she seems like a spoiled princess to me.
Yeah, that does come up a lot with her. It seems like she doesn't, it's not the tough Sarah Connor soldier type that you would expect. She kind of goes back and forth between that and a spoiled princess. Because there's definitely scenes in there where she seems like she's a soldier, like in T2, and that she's basically just taking out a T-1000 herself because she set up a trap for it. Like, there's that scene that shows that she's a very strong character, yet she also has these other scenes where it just seems like she's spoiled the whole time, which is just weird because with her upbringing, you'd think that that wouldn't even occur.
Yeah, and so I'm really on the fence about what they did with the character because I'm just not sure if I like it that much, or, you know, if they keep this cast, which they could keep this team together.
Yeah.
Is she going to be more like, you know, the T2 version, which I think is what I think of when I think of that character.
That is definitely the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Sarah Connor. It's the T2 one. The one from the original Terminator, that Sarah Connor she was just the normal woman. She wasn't involved in any of this, and she was just trying to stay alive. And so there's just definitely a different point to it. So you're right, the Sarah Connor everybody thinks of, in my opinion, would be the T2. And she's just so strong in that movie. And it's one of the good parts of T2 is how strong,
definitely.
Yeah, how strong a character she is. So it is lacking in this one.
So Arnold was sent back farther in time to protect Sarah Connor, but we don't know how or who did it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's ever explained at all in the movie, which maybe that comes up in the next one. But the whole time I was thinking, like, what the... So who sent the original T-800 that saved her when she was 9?
And they also mentioned liquid metal, I guess, being in that lake or something.
Yes.
So that meant that T-1000 was back there too.
Yeah.
If that's the case, unless I missed something, what was that T-1000 doing the entire time for like a decade or however long it was?
No idea.
Were they just constantly trying to kill each other the whole time?
Well, that could be a movie all on its own.
You know, one of the other things which kind of blew me away is that, you know, there's this weapons cache in that San Francisco, that World War II bunker. And she mentions that she knew about it because she went there as a kid. Yeah. They've got so many weapons in this cache. And it drives me nuts in movies that whenever I see something like that, they always only take a duffel bag or two of weapons. And it happened in this movie too. Yeah. You know, what was the point of storing all that? And then when they leave the bunker, there's all these school buses and kids on field trips.
Yeah.
And they're all just feet from where this ridiculous weapons cache was.
Well, not to mention the fact that in that scene, I'm not entirely sure, because they had the duffel bags, why would they take a gigantic school bus anyway? There were other cars there. Is it because the T-800's so heavy? Is that why?
Oh, well.
I don't know.
That might, maybe, I'm not sure. The Terminator fight at the end of the movie, which takes place like in that server room or something that looks like an advanced server room.
Yeah.
They take out a bunch of towers.
Yeah.
Like, they're throwing each other through towers, through walls. They're really destroying a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
Was all that redundant? Is that not something that Genisys needs to turn into Skynet?
Well, maybe not.
And the other thing is, basically, John Connor is Borg. You know, he's assimilated. He's Locutus of Borg.
Yeah.
And that just kept running through my head every time I'd see him. It's like, well, he's just a Borg. Like, this isn't something totally creative that they've done. It's new for the series, but that's essentially what happened.
He basically just was assimilated and is trying to assimilate.
And I think that's it for me as far as quirks go.
Alright, so if that's all your quirks, let's start with my likes here. One of the likes I liked about this movie was that I really liked the effect they used for John Connor Borg version. I thought it was just a cool cellular level changing, and just even in the fight scenes how he's able to like move around and speed up and change into different things. It was pretty cool how they did that. It was like a T-1000 on steroids, which is always my favorite Terminator.
Right, yeah.
So I thought it was pretty cool that they did that. I also really enjoyed the deja vu scenes from the original Terminator when Kyle Reese comes back. Like, the shots are the same as the original Terminator, like when he gets hit or when he steals the pants from the homeless guy and the cops find him and he has to run away and he goes through it. That's the exact same scene as the original Terminator. Even just when he finds the shoes and he measures the shoes by just putting the shoes up to his feet, and then he puts them on, and then he's like in like a photo booth or something, and then you just a shot of his shoes and he's latching the shoes up. Like, all of that is from the original Terminator. And I was like, that's a nice little touch to the movie that I really liked. The other thing is I really enjoyed seeing the T-1000 back. Like I said earlier, he's one of my favorite characters and just favorite villains. And I really like what they did with him, especially just the scene where he throws a piece of liquid metal up and it just turns into a javelin. And then he's just like, throws it at the T-800. It just goes right through him. Bam. I was like, that's just a cool little action scene that they had in there. The other thing that I liked was that I feel like this time around they actually used the 80s version of Arnold in the original Terminator movie for this one. When they did Terminator Salvation, every time I look at it, I'm like, I really feel like that's the Mr. Olympia version. It's not the 80s version in the movie. It's like the one before he did the movie when he was Mr. Olympia. Like, I don't understand why he did that. It's like not the same character. It's not the same look. But in this one, he looked like the one from the original movie. And I thought that was real nice. I like that.
Yeah, like the haircut, right?
Yeah, just everything about it. It's the haircut. Well, even just the body type. The one in Salvation is not the Terminator because he was away from lifting competition by that point in time. He wasn't seriously, like, he was still lifting weights, obviously, but he wasn't like in competition mode when he filmed that movie.
Right, yeah.
And so, but they put him in competition mode in Terminator Salvation, and every time I see Terminator Salvation, which isn't a lot, but when I've seen it, the couple times I've seen it, I'm just like, this is not the same Arnold. Why did they use this version of Arnold? I don't understand.
Because it was the biggest guy they could find.
And that's actually all my likes, Jones, so let's get into yours.
Well, I thought Arnold was great in this. It's such an iconic role, and I think he delivers in a way that doesn't even make me question his age.
Yeah.
Because of his performance, because of how they explain the aging. It's just great to see him do this part, and it's tough to imagine really a real Terminator movie without having him play a big part of it.
Yeah.
And moving forward, I love that he got an upgrade.
Yeah, I do love that he got the T-1000 upgrade because he fell in the thing with the liquid metal. And so he gets this nice little upgrade, which should make the next movie a nice, fun thing. I'm sure they're going to do another 2 movies.
You mentioned it at the very beginning, but a lot happens in this movie. I think the pace is awesome. And it seems odd to me that J.K. Simmons had such a small part.
Yeah, his character O'Brien was really entertaining. I did want more of him.
Yeah, so I think it would be great to see him again because
come back.
Every scene he's in makes me smile.
Yeah, it's really cool role for him. I liked his character.
I'm also thinking that I'll take this Kyle Reese and this version of John Connor over the sissies that are in Rise of the Machines and Salvation any day.
I've seen Rise of the Machines once before, and I just God, I hate that movie. I really don't like that movie. Terminator Salvation I thought was okay, but man, I really don't like that movie. I don't like Rise of the Machines.
They absolutely ruined the big twist in this movie, and I think had they not done that, that was something we talked about in the last podcast.
Yeah.
And I think it changes, for me, it would have changed how I felt about the movie a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too. They kind of just gave away the entire story in the trailer, which is a very bad thing to do in these movies. I think a lot of twists. There was quite a few twists in there, and they should have just kept them in there and surprised you with it, but that's just not what they did.
I think that would have been better. However, I felt that there was so much of John Connor being evil and just over the top, deadly, serious, that to me, I kind of let that go, but it did suck that they ruined, a really nice plot twist. And I think that's it for likes.
All right, so done with the quirks and likes. Let's go ahead and get into the ratings. I think this movie has a lot of action and fun, but I think it lacks some story and some dialogue that it really needs to drive it home. So I'm going to go ahead and say rent it.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was better than Rise of the Machines. I thought it was better than Salvation. And I will give it a see it.
All right. Now that we're done with our ratings, I would please ask everybody to go to our website, halfpasspodcast.com.
Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes, 5 stars preferably.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
And tweet us at halfpastpodcast.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. Next week, we have the Minions movie. So we're going to see another Elimination Entertainment movie.
Yeah, and no discernible dialogue in that movie, so
we'll see what happens. This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
See you next flick.